I'm joined by Florida Times Union Metro columnist Nate Monroe. Nate is covering the federal trial of Aaron Zahn and Ryan Wanamaker, the former CEO and CFO of the city's municipal water and electric utility. They're charged with conspiring to glean millions of dollars from the sale of JEA through a spurious bonus program. And last week was the first full week of the trial. Morning, Nate.
Good morning.
Where are we at this point in the case?
We are deep in the case. We're deep in the government's side of this case. And I think I would expect that by the end of this week, we will be close to wrapping that up and probably ready to move to the defense not long after that.
We heard some really electrifying testimony last week, particularly towards the end of the week. We heard from former Chief Operating Officer of JEA, Melissa Dykes. Talk a little bit about her role in this case and why she's such an important witness.
Sure. And I think that we had an expectation going into this trial, of course, that Melissa Dykes was going to be an intriguing witness. So Melissa Dykes is the former Chief Operating Officer of JEA. She was part of the kind of, arguably top 3, top 4 people within that organization. She worked closely with Aaron Zahn and Ryan Wanamaker on a lot of the major initiatives that took place during Zahn's time. The main one, of course, being the potential privatization of the utility. And so we understood that she had some insight to offer the government's case. And I would say, in short, what happened with her was kind of a little bit of witness whiplash. Her direct testimony from prosecutors, and this occurred not just to me, but also to some others in the courtroom, felt like her testimony underscored a lot of points that the government has been trying to make in this case to the jury. Probably the most notable being that she acknowledged that she and Aaron Zahn and Ryan Wanamaker fully understood the mechanics of this bonus program or incentive plan that they were going to ask the board to approve. They understood the potential for huge payouts. And in fact, she kind of acknowledged that these big payouts were kind of the point. She relayed a conversation that she'd had with Ryan Wanamaker where he explained to her the rationale behind the plan was that there had to be something in it for the employees who sacrificed and potentially sold JEA. The idea that, they might be working themselves out of jobs. So there needs to be something in it in the end for them. And so that I thought was really sort of compelling testimony for the government's case. But during cross-examination, when the defense attorneys began asking her questions, there was a little bit of a shift. And I think that Melissa Dykes became kind of agreeable to some of the arguments that the defense attorneys were making. And they, you kind of make arguments through the questions you're asking at trial. And so she was becoming sort of agreeable with some points the defense was trying to make. And one of those was she was defensive of the presentation that Ryan Wanamaker gave to the board before it had approved the incentive plan. And this is a presentation prosecutors believe was misleading. There was no public acknowledgement of large payouts, and the board has said that they had no idea that these kind of payouts were possible. So I think that, we saw this testimony sort of score points for both sides. That prompted on Friday another set of questions by prosecutors to Melissa Dykes that was far more adversarial. The message I sort of got from the tone of the prosecutors' questions and the content was, hey, look, jurors, we brought Melissa Dykes here because we thought she had some interesting stuff that you needed to hear. But we also want to let you know, we think Melissa Dykes is a problematic figure too. That I thought was kind of the message. They really pressed her on why she didn't do more to inform the board about the workings of the plan. They scrutinized her kind of support of Ryan Wanamaker. The previous day, she'd said that Ryan was one of the most honest people she knew. And they brought up that in a 2020 interview with the FBI, Melissa Dykes had apparently said that she would have taken the money. She would have taken these sort of phantom stocks that were at the heart of this incentive plan. Now she said she at the time tried to figure out ways to opt out of that plan, but was told she couldn't. But that was sort of an interesting back and forth between her and the prosecutor. So, as I said, kind of testimony whiplash.
Just in about a minute or so left, tell us why it is. I mean, are people asking the question as to why she isn't included in the prosecution? And then what do you anticipate in the next couple of days of testimony?
I think it's a fair question to ask. I, I look. I mean, this is a topic of speculation. Prosecutors not, discuss this in open court, but some of it might just come down to the simple fact that, at least her testimony is she had nothing to do with this plan. She was aware of it. She had conversations about it, but she wasn't an architect of the plan. And thus far, the evidence that we've seen, documents, emails, testimony, doesn't put her fingerprints on it directly the way that it does Mr. Zahn and Mr. Wanamaker. I think in the coming days, we'll actually start to hear from some of the attorneys who worked with JEA throughout this case. They will be important witnesses for both sides. The defense has tried to claim that Mr. Zahn and Mr. Wanamaker were informed by attorneys along the way, and that this incentive plan was fully vetted, and that this was not just the two of them conspiring, that they had experts and consultants helping them. The government is going to obviously try to show the opposite, that these attorneys were not fully informed about the plan, that Zahn and Wanamaker sort of cleverly siloed these experts at various times. So I think we will see that play out over the next few days.
Well, Nate, for people who aren't sitting in the courtroom, I think it's just worth noting how many times witnesses are actually learning about a lot of this from reading the paper, which is a great credit to the work that you all did at the Times-Union. Nate Monroe's column appears in the Times-Union every Thursday and Sunday, and he's pretty much writing daily on the trial. You can follow him on Twitter at Nate Monroe TU. Nate, thanks so much for being here this morning.
And it's always a pleasure.